Okay, so you've shared some source material with us. And today, based on that, we're going to be telling some stories. Not really deep dive this time, more like sharing these accounts. And they are, well, unsettling, pretty chilling stories, actually.
Yeah.
About experiences that happened during, something as normal as a class field trip.
It's true. We tend to think of field trips as, well, safe, right? Supervised adventures, fun.
Exactly.
But these accounts you've provided, they suggest that sometimes, even in those places, meant for learning and fun, really disturbing things can happen.
They really can. We have this collection here drawn from the sources of just truly unsettling experiences. Let's get into the first one. This story comes from someone who was in 5th grade going to the fair.
Really?
And the narrator, they actually ended up riding to the fair, not on the school bus with everyone else, which, they were already a bit bummed about.
Right.
But in a car with their friend Josh's dad and another classmate named Steven. So just the 3 kids and this dad. Yeah.
Okay, so right away, that separation from the main group puts them under the care of this one adult they didn't even know.
Exactly. And the source says the discomfort, it started pretty much the moment they arrived. After parking, Josh and Steven, they were told to get out.
Okay.
But the narrator was asked to stay in the car, alone, just for a minute, with Josh's dad.
Uh-oh.
And once the other 2 were out, the source says this man, he turned to the narrator and basically laid down the law. But, not in a friendly way at all.
How so?
The source quotes him. He actually said, "I'm the boss of you 3 while you're here today, you understand.
Oh.
You do as I say or there will be problems." And get this, he even held up his fist while saying it.
Jeez. That's immediate. A clear attempt to establish dominance, fear right from the start. Physical intimidation towards a child he just met.
Yeah. So naturally, the narrator, who's only 9 or 10, right? They were terrified and confused. This total stranger. And they ended up spending a lot of the day kind of under his direct watch because the teacher, she was busy with the bigger group,
Right. Makes sense.
The source mentions these moments where the dad would, grab the narrator's arm for things that seemed pretty small, like walking too fast, or if he decided they weren't allowed on some ride.
That physical contact, it feels like a way to just constantly reinforce his, supposed authority over the kid, keep them scared.
And this is where the story gets even more disturbing. At one point, the teacher suggested, maybe Josh's dad could take the 3 boys to that huge slide.
Okay.
So they get there. He tells Josh and Steven, go up the stairs. But he holds the narrator back. Says they aren't going on that one.
Oh, no.
And the source specifically describes him holding the narrator's arm with an inappropriate firm grip. And then, when Josh and Steven were way up the slide, out of earshot, he whispered something.
That moment of isolation, even brief, it's chilling how predators look for that.
He leaned right in close, and the source quotes this exactly. "Mind what I fucking say, or I will hurt you, boy.
Oh my God.
If I could just get you alone."
Wow. That specific phrase, "if I could just get you alone," it's just so heavy, isn't it? So sinister.
Yeah.
The psychological impact of a threat like that, even veiled, coming from an adult stranger in charge, it must be huge for a child.
The source says the narrator didn't say a single word back to him for the rest of the entire day. Just totally petrified.
I can only imagine. And the fact, that the source mentions the narrator still wonders what he meant years later, that really shows the lasting trauma, that unresolved fear.
Absolutely haunting, yeah. The source does mention, after the field trip back at school, Josh's dad acted completely normal in front of the teacher, like nothing happened.
Typical deflection, maybe?
But the narrator, they immediately told their teacher what had happened. And she was clearly troubled by it. Then when the narrator got home, told their parents, their dad, the source uses the word berserk, went berserk, called the school right away.
Yeah, that sounds like a completely understandable reaction from a parent, hearing that.
Totally. And the narrator, they never saw Josh's dad again after that day, as far as they know. But that question from the source, it just hangs there, echoing that whisper, what did he mean when he said, if he could only get me alone? What did he want to do? It's that not knowing that really sticks with you.
Yeah, that uncertainty.
Okay, let's move to the second story. This one was shared by a listener about their sister's experience. Happened years ago at the zoo. She was 9 years old.
Okay, the zoo. Another place you think is safe.
Right. And the sister, apparently, she doesn't remember much else about that specific day.
Yeah.
But this one incident, it stayed with her. Very traumatic.
That makes sense. It's common with trauma, right? That one event can overshadow everything else, become the defining memory.
Yeah. So at some point during the zoo trip, this man, he managed to lure the sister away from her class.
Ow.
He used bait. A false promise. Said he had a handheld TV he didn't want anymore, was just going to give it away. And he gave her this very specific instruction. Go into the girl's bathroom and look for the TV in a stall against the wall.
Wow, that's calculated. Yeah. Offering something tempting, directing her to an isolated spot, classic red flags.
So she does it, goes into the bathroom, finds the handicap stall against the wall, like he said, and starts looking under the toilet for this, supposed TV.
Right.
And that's when the man appeared behind her and locked the skull door.
Oh, jeez.
Then he tells her there's no TV. And the source says she just started to cry. Even at 9, she knew instantly this was bad. She was in danger.
That Sutter switch from a seemingly kind offer to being trapped, locked in with a stranger, it's terrifyingly effective. And her instinct, knowing the danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thankfully, really thankfully, before anything else happened, a woman came into the bathroom.
Okay, good.
And she heard the crying. She peered through the crack in the stall door, saw the little girl inside. The man apparently was leaning against the wall, so she couldn't see him from that angle initially.
Right.
The woman told the girl, unlock the door, and the girl did it.
Wow. That woman showing up and actually investigating the crying, that was absolutely critical, wasn't it? Could have gone so differently.
Totally. So the door opens. The woman sees the man in there with the girl. She immediately, hustled the sister out of the bathroom.
Good.
As soon as they were outside, the woman spotted a zoo employee. Went right to them, told them to call the police. Now,
yeah,
the unfortunate side effect of doing that, the necessary step,
right,
was it gave the man just enough time to slip out of the bathroom and disappear.
That's so frustrating. The very act of getting help let him escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened next was, the source calls it a huge scene. Police everywhere searching the zoo for this guy.
I bet.
The sister's class, they ended up leaving the zoo early because of the whole situation.
Understandable.
And frustratingly, the source says they never found out if the man was ever caught.
That lack of resolution again. Just knowing someone who'd try that might still be out there. It's deeply unsettling.
It really is.
Yeah.
But here's the detail from the source that just feels extra creepy.
What's that?
The sister is fairly sure the man was wearing the exact same outfit as the zoo employees.
Oh, wow. Okay. That adds a whole other layer. Using a uniform, maybe to blend in, seem less threatening at first, or explain why he's there, or just make him harder to identify later.
Yeah.
That suggests, a bit more planning, forethought. It's a really disturbing detail.
It's chilling, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into our third story here. This one's from a listener about their 6th grade field trip. They went to this mountain park, Hidden Valley Park, and it was a week-long stay, so they were there for a while.
Longer trip.
Yeah. And early in the week, they had this big campfire game thing. Kids from multiple schools were there, and the narrator, who was an 11-year-old girl at the time, got picked to do something. She had to get up in front of 200 kids.
Oh, boy.
And make a leopard sound. She was, as the source says, incredibly embarrassed.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's peak awkward age, too. But seemingly innocent, right? Seemingly. But unfortunately, it drew some unwanted attention. Drew the attention of this boy named Jacob. Over the next few days, Jacob just kept persistently trying to tell the narrator he liked them.
Okay, a crush, maybe?
Well, he'd use other kids to pass messages, and a couple of times he approached her directly. But it wasn't your typical, I like you note. Yeah. The source quotes this phrase he used, very specific and kind of unnerving.
What was it?
Twice he told the narrator, "You're my forever girl."
Oof, okay. That's intense, especially from another kid that age. Forever girl.
Yeah.
It sounds really possessive, doesn't it?
Fixated.
Yeah. Once while they were hiking, and again, when they were just standing in line for breakfast, just, "You're my forever girl."
Wow.
The narrator says her face would just turn bright red, and she tried her best to just ignore him, which she could tell made him angry.
Not a good sign.
No. Then, on the second to last day of the trip, her class was doing pottery. They were in this room. It had these big double doors that led out into a hallway. And this hallway had exits to the outside at both ends. The narrator was sitting near the back of the room.
Okay, setting the scene. The layout, the hallway access feels important.
It is. So while they're working on their pottery bowl, Jacob suddenly appears from the hallway. peeking through those double doors, kind of behind where the narrator was sitting, he called out, "Hannah, come here. I have something for you." The narrator said she knew instantly, like, "Nope, I am not going back there." Tried to ignore him. But it was scary, knowing he was right there, behind her, somewhere he shouldn't even be.
Right.
She tried to get her teacher's attention, but the teacher was busy helping other kids across the room.
That feeling, knowing something's wrong, knowing who it is, but not being able to immediately get help. Very unnerving.
Then Jacob said, "Hannah, look." The narrator turned around, and Jacob was holding this huge hunting knife. Yeah, the source describes it as, like, the biggest knife she'd ever seen at that age. He must have stolen it from somewhere in the park, right?
Oh my God.
He held it up, smiled at her, and told her again, "Come back here with me."
Displaying a weapon like that, I mean, that just escalates everything, doesn't it? From unwanted attention and weird comments to an overt, terrifying threat.
Instantly. Seeing the knife, the narrator just got up, went straight to her teacher, told her, "Jacob's in the hallway, he has a knife."
Good. Smart move.
Jacob ran off then, but counselors caught him pretty quickly afterwards, and he still had that huge knife. The source says, hidden somewhere in his clothes.
Wow. The fact he kept it hidden on him, even after running, that really reinforces it wasn't just some impulsive flash. Suggests more serious intent.
Definitely. The source mentions, his parents were probably called. And since he wasn't from the narrator's school, they didn't see him again for years. Not until after high school.
A long time for that memory to just sit there. Mm-hmm. Must have been intense.
Yeah. And the final, really unsettling part of this story. The narrator saw Jacob years later in a grocery store.
Oh, wow.
She recognized him instantly. Doesn't think he recognized her, probably. But she knew it was him. And the source describes him looking even more like scary and troubled than he did as a kid. And the detail that just brought that whole memory flooding back. Yeah. She saw him give the checker at the grocery store the exact same insane, creepy smile that he gave her that day at the park with the knife.
Ugh. That specific detail. Connecting the past right to the present like that. Seeing that same disturbing expression years later. It really underscores how deeply that moment was imprinted. And it suggests something fundamental, something troubling about him might not have changed at all.
Yeah. These stories, they really highlight how even in places we think are safe, like a school field trip, these unsettling, potentially dangerous situations can just pop up unexpectedly.
Absolutely. Shows the unpredictable side of human behavior, even in routine settings.
And they also show, I think, the importance of listening to your gut, right? Your instincts, and finding a way to get help if you can, like these kids and the woman in the second story did.
Definitely. Trusting that feeling when something feels wrong.
Absolutely. It just makes you think, doesn't it? How quickly a normal day can turn into something terrifying. Thank you truly for sharing the source material with us that let us tell these stories today.
Yeah, powerful accounts.
They really are. And if these stories resonated with you, the listener, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Proc Horror Docs. We appreciate the support.
Goodbye for now.
Bye, everyone.